Skol Vikings fans, are we witnessing a repeat of one of the most painful chapters in our team's history? A massive shadow is hanging over Minnesota as our superstar wide receiver enters a critical 7th year, and the parallels to a legendary predecessor are becoming impossible to ignore. With questions surrounding our quarterback situation and the pressure of the NFC North mounting, we have to talk about the future of our biggest playmaker. Is he on the verge of a departure, or can we secure his legacy here? Hit that subscribe button to join our daily Vikings coverage, and let's dive into this situation. Justin Jefferson stands at a critical career crossroads as he enters his 7th season with the Minnesota Vikings. The narrative surrounding him is now inextricably linked to the legacy of Randy Moss, as both receivers have served as the ultimate focal point of the franchise's passing attack. While Jefferson has consistently shattered records that once seemed unreachable, he currently faces a situation that mirrors the instability Randy Moss navigated during his own tenure in Minnesota. The primary tension lies in the team's ongoing search for stability at the quarterback position, a dilemma that forces fans and analysts alike to consider whether Jefferson's trajectory will ultimately diverge from or mirror the path taken by the legend who preceded him. As the Vikings transition into this new phase, the uncertainty regarding who will lead the offense is the driving force behind the speculation regarding the superstar receiver's future. With the franchise entering another campaign without a long-term postseason breakthrough, the question of whether Jefferson can find the same sustained success he has personally achieved remains the defining story for the organization. Fans who gather on Sundays to shout "Skol" are witnessing a pivotal moment, as Jefferson enters a year that feels remarkably similar to the turning points observed throughout team history. The stakes are undeniably high, and the focus rests entirely on whether the current roster construction can finally provide the support necessary to keep their primary offensive weapon committed to the team's long-term vision. This is not a debate about who is the better player. Rather, it is an urgent assessment of the current organizational reality, where the lack of a deep playoff run has placed Jefferson in a position where his future is no longer viewed as a guaranteed certainty by those watching the franchise closely. The comparison to Randy Moss is not merely statistical, as both players arrived as transformative talents capable of altering the outcome of any game. Randy Moss enjoyed 7 prolific seasons in Minnesota before the relationship soured, leading to his eventual trade to the Oakland Raiders. Justin Jefferson is now hitting that exact 7th-year mark, placing him at a historical juncture that naturally invites questions about his longevity and comfort within the current system. While Jefferson maintains a reputation as a leader who remains a positive force, the external pressures of a highly competitive NFC North continue to mount. The Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, and Detroit Lions are all fielding rosters that challenge the Vikings' standing, making every game outcome critical for retaining star talent. Why does this matter right now? The team is in a transition period where the quarterback situation is unsettled, forcing the organization to choose between J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. If the offense cannot generate the production required to contend, the pressure on the front office to maximize the value of their assets will only increase. Jefferson has proven his ability to dominate, but his output dipped last season to 84 catches for 1,048 yards and 2 touchdowns, a reality that emphasizes the necessity of having a reliable signal caller. Without that consistency, the uncertainty surrounding Jefferson grows, especially when viewing the historical precedent of how the franchise handles its most valuable stars. The team is currently balancing the need to compete immediately with the reality of a division that has significantly improved, making the performance of their elite receiver essential to remaining relevant in the playoff hunt. The involvement of Nolan Teasley adds another layer of complexity to the situation surrounding Justin Jefferson. As the former assistant general manager for the Seattle Seahawks, Teasley brings a background defined by managing the departures of high-profile players like Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. His presence in the front office suggests that the Vikings are prepared to navigate difficult personnel decisions if the current strategy fails to yield the desired results. The leadership of Kevin O'Connell is equally vital, as he is tasked with directing an offense that must find ways to feed Jefferson while managing the limitations of the current quarterback room. If the offense continues to struggle, Teasley and O'Connell will be the primary figures responsible for determining the next steps for the franchise. The uncertainty of the situation is compounded by the fact that the team has not secured a playoff victory since Jefferson joined the roster in 2020. This lack of postseason success creates a reality where the organization must prove it can build around its star rather than just relying on his individual brilliance. Fans and team observers are constantly evaluating whether the current management can stabilize the path forward for their most explosive weapon. The parallel to the Moss era serves as a constant reminder that even the most talented players may eventually seek environments that offer a clearer path to winning. For now, the narrative remains fixed on Jefferson and his role as the centerpiece, but the window for the organization to prove their competence is narrowing. The front office faces the challenge of maintaining an elite offense while simultaneously correcting the deficiencies that have prevented the team from making a deep run in the playoffs during this era of dominance. The core of the dispute involves whether the Vikings can provide a winning environment that matches the elite talent of Justin Jefferson. While he is often viewed as an inevitable force on the field, the recent performance metrics remind everyone that even the best players are dependent on the structure provided by their team. If Jefferson's production remains in the range of his previous season, the conversation surrounding his role and his future in Minnesota will become increasingly difficult for the front office to ignore. The team's inability to settle on a quarterback, oscillating between options like JJG, McCarthy, and Kyler Murray, creates a volatile environment for a receiver who expects to compete for league honors and playoff glory. This struggle for identity affects more than just the standings. It dictates the long-term outlook for the franchise. The comparison to Randy Moss is not just about historical records, but about the life cycle of a superstar within the organization. When the team fails to provide a quarterback capable of elevating the offense to its full potential, the risk of losing a generational talent like Jefferson increases, much like it did with Moss years ago. The focus now is on whether the current leadership team can break this cycle and provide the consistency required to keep a player of his caliber satisfied. Every decision made regarding the roster is scrutinized through the lens of how it impacts Jefferson's willingness to stay and his ability to perform. The stakes are immense as the team attempts to navigate a competitive division while managing the expectations of one of the greatest receivers in the history of the NFL. The situation remains fluid, yet the pressure on the Vikings to deliver results is at an all-time high as they reach this pivotal juncture. Looking ahead, the success of the Minnesota Vikings depends entirely on the chemistry between Justin Jefferson and the offensive leadership. If the team can successfully develop a quarterback-receiver connection that replicates the efficiency and explosiveness required for modern success, Jefferson will likely remain in Minnesota, solidifying his legacy as the greatest receiver to ever wear the purple and gold. However, the path to that outcome is fraught with the same historical challenges that ended the tenure of past superstars. The organization is currently testing its ability to pivot, using the experiences of decision-makers like Nolan Teasley to guide their personnel choices. If the current season fails to produce a breakthrough, the speculation regarding Jefferson's future will transition from hypothetical to a pressing reality. Fans who follow the team know the talent is there, but they also understand that talent alone does not guarantee championships. The team must prove it can manage its resources, develop its quarterback prospects, and maximize the prime years of a player who has already defined a generation. If they succeed, they could see Jefferson shatter every record in the book and lead the Vikings to a new era of prosperity. If they fail, the similarities to the past will become too difficult to ignore, and the franchise will face a reckoning regarding its ability to keep its brightest stars. The story of Justin Jefferson is still being written, and the next few months will reveal whether this era ends in triumph or as a cautionary tale about the importance of organizational stability. As the team prepares for the upcoming challenges, all eyes are on the field to see if the stars can align in a way that secures Jefferson's future and brings success back to Minnesota for all those who faithfully shout, "Skol!"